Welcome to RockEyez, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time.
No problem. In theory, Retribution, Deko Records, they did a phenomenal package, like a bundle with all kinds of stuff. It looks amazing. Tell me a
Oh,
little bit
thank you.
about that.
Excuse me.
Tell me a little bit about that. How did it all come about? And getting
The,
signed to Deko.
the getting signed with Deco or
Yeah,
Retribution.
everything. Yeah.
It's the whole thing. So Deco, how that came about was because of our relationship with Angel.
Uh-huh.
So we did, in theory, we did I think 6 legs or 7 legs with them in the last 2 years,
Right.
and we were parting ways with we were previously on Sony Orchard, and we were parting ways, and then
Right.
and someone's like, "Well, talk to Charlie," and I'm like, "Charlie, the keyboard," So it was like that, and then I looked into them a little bit deeper, and yeah, and they do a phenomenal job with all their bands that they work with, and I really like Charlie, so it just worked out amazing, for both parties. And then the bundle was a few different things. There's a couple of my good friends or high profile friends that are I see what they're doing, and I feel like you know like you have to give a lot to the
Right.
fans, and you can't just why would they want to buy your record versus just downstream, doing a
Right.
download. So I want to really make a cool bundle, so
Right.
so we threw in autographed pictures, and we had uh, the autographed guitar picks, um, and what was it? Well, I forgot what the other thing they call it, but it's the other, like an insert.
Right.
So yeah, so we're doing all these different. Just I just wanted like the fan to have a whole lot,
Right.
and then also on the CD itself, I went with like a 6-page type of CD.
Right.
You know, Almost to give like the experience when I was buying, say, like a vinyl. Like, oh, let me read about this, let me read about that,
Right.
and so I feel like there's a lot of stimulation. A lot of colors are
Right.
coming at you. A lot of information is coming at you. Each page has something a little bit different, even from the back cover, and there's just so much detail to it.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Um, is it amazing that vinyl's making a comeback and now we can have your album on like different colored vinyls and like have that big package in you?
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think it's going to continue to grow. People want that experience, and while here's the thing too, what I understand is most of these people are not buying it to actually. They'll still download it, but
Yeah.
they're buying it to hang it in their wall or to use it, as a decoration for the house or trophy,
Right. Yeah.
so to speak.
Definitely. Definitely. And also the album, you get an autograph on a CD. It's kind of small, but the album, you got carte blanche. You could sign anywhere you want, inside, outside, and that's what collectors do,
Yep, exactly.
you know.
And
So
like I said, we were fortunate, like I said, to get autographs from everybody involved and stuff, and yeah, and then there'll be one more bundle that we're going to include. So we have like the bundle, we got the mega bundle, but I think Charlie and I are going to call it the super mega bundle.
uh-huh.
And that one's actually, I can actually say it now. So that one's going to include the track that I just put out. That's a non in theory track.
Right.
um, that I released with Victor Wooten and Rod Morgenstein, from the Dregs and Winger.
Right.
And I just put that out as, just to put it out. I've had it done for the last like 3 or 4 years, but I never did anything with it. I'm like, you know what? Let's package it with the In Theory stuff. And surprisingly, this will blows me away. Say with that one. Um, it's a 7-minute instrumental. It goes from like classical to like a world music thing to like maybe like Satriani-ish or something.
Right.
And it's the second highest streamed single so far with
Wow.
no promotion, no nothing,
Hmm.
and it's
Wow.
second highest, which kind of blows me away.
Yeah, that's great, man. Great, great. So we're gonna go down each track and give me your impression on each song and stuff like that. When I was listening to the album, I really felt a sense of like almost my upbringing from maybe the 70s all the way to now. I mean, like bands like Procol Harum, Montrose, Wishbone Ash. That's the stuff I felt when I was listening to your new Retribution CD.
And we get those comparisons a lot. I think it's a lot of those bands. Like obviously I heard, but I don't necessarily listen to them all the time. But also,
Right.
but I get those comparisons, or Tony and I get those comparisons all the time. And then also, like, I'll hear something on YouTube or, I'm like, who is that? And sure enough, it's, Wishbone Ash or Humble Pie, or there's
Right.
like
Yeah.
another one. I'm like, oh yeah, that stuff is killer. I'm like, and then I listen to it. I'm like, yeah, we're sort of similar to that,
Right. Yeah.
without us really trying to be similar. I think we just gravitate. That's how we naturally want to sound, is like that.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
So.
It's cool because, like, by me mentioning that stuff and stuff like that, I listen to the CD. I mean, I'm sure you get interviews where someone just generic stuff. That means they didn't listen to the CD, So,
Yeah, those drive me crazy, and yeah, without going too deep. But when they go, well, tell us everything about you. I'm like, well, did you hear us? Like, and they didn't listen to the album, or they didn't look at the EPK. Because our EPK is extremely detailed. And then I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to know? Do you want to know like how I started? Do you want to start, what happened in my teens? Or, I mean, there's so many things that I would even call it, different eras in my life and Tony's life and in theories, where In Theory came. But I mean, it could be a whole like 5 hour show. So yeah. But yeah, but I appreciate you actually listen to it and you have an opinion. I'm glad you like it too.
Yeah, and I have my favorite track, which we're going to talk about too.
Okay.
So let's start off with Retribution, the first track on the album. Tell me a little bit about that song.
Retribution was actually it's funny that we picked that one. That one was the very last track that we did.
Okay.
And I made it the first single. That one also is co-produced. It's the first time I co-produced something. Typically, I produced the entire record, and obviously the entire record is produced by me, except for that song. And that I brought on Tommy Henriksen from Alice Cooper, in Hollywood Vampires, and I think Crossbone Scully and a few other things. He's done a lot of stuff. But that one was special to me because there was I've known Tommy since we were teenagers, and I used to open up for him. So he's a couple years older than me. So when I was, and back then, you were allowed to play a club at 15. So I was opening them. They had in where was this? I think it was near Stony Brook, Long Island. It was all the way out in the sticks in Long Island, and they had a residency. He had a band, Rough Cut, and we were opening up for that band. And then time went on, and then like every few years we would run into it. We'd write some stuff, and we'd disappear, and then we ended up in California, and then he hooked me up with different managers, and it was kind of interesting, our paths of connected and reconnected. But then I didn't talk to him for quite a long time, and this mutual friend of ours was very determined to connect us.
Right.
And it took about a year because, and she told Tom, she goes, I know Mike. He's like, Mike is, that type of deal. And we tried to connect, and then finally, almost to the date, 3 days ago last year in August, I knew he was going to be in California, so it flew out, and it was great. We met for breakfast, and we had no plans of actually doing anything, but within like 5-10 minutes of speaking, we're like, we should do something. It was really like that. And then that night I saw him play with Cooper, and then the next day we did breakfast and talked about it a little bit more in detail. And then the funny thing, as a side note to Retribution was, so the second night when I went to see Cooper before he went to play, they got me to do like a meet with Alice, and and before, Alice didn't even know that there's a connection between Tommy and myself.
Right.
And Alice is featured in Theory 3 times on his show, and because of Alice on Media Base, we've had 2 top 10 singles in classic and active rock. It's really all because of Alice Cooper and where they do syndication and all that stuff. So I was kind of excited, like just, I mean, he's Alice, but I also want to thank him because he,
Right.
obviously he didn't have to do that.
Right.
And he's always had really kind things, you know, like he calls us a blues rock band, which is just kind of, he goes, yeah,
Right.
which is, yeah, that's pretty accurate, you know. And so I went back and I met Alice. I said, and then the it was like such a wild moment. Then his assistant, who's also the photographer of the
Right.
event, you know, he's asking this person, is like, is that Mike? You know, is
Mhm.
that Mike? And they go, yeah, that's Mike. And he's like, oh my God, he was my old boss. And he was almost in tears. I mean, he was so happy.
Right.
And then he told Alice, he goes, Alice, that's my old boss. And then
Wow.
Alice tells him, get in here. You know, you got to take a picture with your bosses, you know, and
Oh
that
yeah.
whole thing. And then, so him and I reconnected after X amount of time. Tommy and I reconnected, and I got to thank Alice in person, you know. And then from there, Tommy and I just started working on Retribution, you know, and that was a cool experience, you know, because he's bringing the whole, you know, like the Mutt Lange influence, because Mutt Lange
Right.
produced his last record, and he's been working with them for 5 years. So there's a lot of, you can tell there's a lot of Mutt influence in Retribution, um, even to like the drums. I mean, you know, it's a combination of the drums that they use for ZZ Top and actually for Def Leppard is actually the real drums that are on that track. And then there's, you know, even some of the background vocals that were used on some of the biggest records you've heard
Right.
is on that track as well.
Cool, cool. I was just reading actually this morning and yesterday that Alice Cooper is going to be doing a 4-part documentary on TV.
I saw that. I
That's
tell
pretty
you,
cool.
it's really, you know what's so wild with that guy? He's what, 77, right?
Yeah.
And think about it. I mean, his tour, I mean, they do 17 songs in a set, which
Right.
is, you know, I get tired. I do like 32 minutes. I'm like, God, I'm tired. They're doing 17 songs in 90-minute set. And I mean, and they work and they work and like this year, he's also has his original band,
Right.
right? So they have them. They got Alice, and I mean, you know, the band with Hendrickson and stuff. Um, then he's got the TV show, and then he's doing the thing with the orchestra in Germany in
Right.
December,
Uh-huh.
right? Which I think it's Tommy, Nita, and Alice are doing that.
Yep.
You know, so yeah, I mean, and he just works. It works, and then I saw him. He did the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp.
Mhm.
I get tired just like looking at what he does.
Yes. I believe
You
it.
know,
I believe
you
it.
know. But like I said, now Tommy and I reconnected. In fact, um, we just got doing another song for In Theory, Tommy, myself, and Tony, and that one will come out in October. But we haven't decided if we're going to do an EP or just a single. But we just got done with that track, and I have to say, and another thing too that he brought like to Retribution. So the mixer on it is Ole Romo,
Right.
who's done much stuff for the last 20 some odd years, and we also brought in a different mastering team, Howie Weinberg, who's done, you know, Pyromania to Master of Puppets to Nirvana, Soundgarden. So, you know, he introduced me to a good team, you know, to bring, you know, that track to life.
Track number 2, Stained on My Soul, which is my favorite track.
Okay. What now? Why is it your favorite track?
I just got into it really, like the music and the lyrics, and I just, you know, I listened to it over and over and over again. I just enjoyed it, you know.
Right, right. So, "Stay in My Soul." That's a little story too. That's an I call it for a couple reasons. It's an accident song.
Uh-huh.
Originally, I was going to go in and do um, a cover.
Right.
Um, I just had this. I just have this need to always be creative and always jumping in the studio and if I don't, you know, best way I can describe it. It's like not a depression, but I feel like it's a withdrawal of creativity.
Right.
And so I went in there, and then God bless the engineer. You know, and he's our chief engineer and everything. His name's Charles Holloman, and shout out to Charles at East Avalon, you know, Studios in Muscle Shoals. um, as we're start getting tones, and he'll go, you really don't want to just play something. He goes, Mike, you got great riffs. Let's do something.
Right.
And I came up with, and he was like, yeah, okay. It's kind of funny how we do it. And a lot of times we have this unspoken language.
Right.
And I'm like, this may be good for something, or this may good. And what now we've been working together for 7 years. He starts saving all these things every time I say something, and he goes,
Right.
"Oh, remember that thing? This will go with that." But with Stain, I did the riff, and then there's a couple of things that I do in the writing process.
Right.
Um, I feel that I'm not sure. Are you a musician as well, or
No,
okay?
I'm a
Um,
photographer.
so you would be a perfect candidate for us. So like at least for me, the way I do it, I think a lot of times musicians um, are writing for other musicians
Right.
and not for the fans.
Right.
And they're worried about like, oh, did I hit this note just right? Did I sing this just right? Um, and I'm more like, no, did this person listen to it? Are they connecting? Are they feeling something? If their reaction is like this, like, oh yeah,
Right.
or
Yeah.
they're like, then I know I'm doing something right. Oh, so with that song, I was like, I did the initial riff. I'm like, it's something, but it's not something. And I remember I sent it to Tony. He's like, and then I sent it to a couple of, In Theory fans.
Right.
And when I heard like, well, Mike, it's not your best riff,
Uh-huh.
right?
Wow. Uh-huh.
Um, and they said it in a nice way. They're like, it's still Mike, but it's not. There's
Right.
something that's not Mike. So the very next day, I went back in the studio, and I'm like, why is it not, up to, not wowing everybody?
Right.
And it really was a matter of, believe it or not, like a chug.
Uh-huh.
So I think I played it more straight initially. From a technique wise, I knew there's a little upswing on it,
Right.
and that made the entire difference.
Wow.
Just that one little upbeat on the initial, I think on the first two notes,
Right. Yeah.
and then later that day I sent it to the same people. They're like, oh my God, what a different track.
Cool.
So you would be a
Definitely.
perfect guy if I'm working on songs like, hey, do you like that riff?
Uh-huh.
You know?
Right. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Let's go to track number 3, The River.
Yes, The River is actually the first song we wrote. Um, it's kind of like a bluesy, that
Right.
that for me has a little bit more of the Muscle Shoals, feel. That's when I first moved there, and The River came up. Tony came up with the title The River because because in Muscle Shoals they talk about the Tennessee River and how the
Right.
water influences you, and there's magic in the river, and I'd always tell him this story, and from that, that whole song came about.
Cool. Cool. Let's go to the next track. Get Me Higher.
Get Me Higher. Still, like that's a tricky track, and that was it the first or second song? Second song, and that one has Vinny Appice on it,
Uh-huh. Cool.
and Vinny had to take a couple of takes at it. It was really kind of funny. Um, I think Vinny's a little bit like me with the reaction, and
Right.
the funny thing is, he did it, and it's sort of like an unspoken language, and I go, well, yeah, I can make it work. That was my reaction to his
Yeah.
track, and he goes, no, hold on, Mike. He goes, let me, I'll redo it. I didn't say I didn't like it. I said, no, I can make it work. So
Right.
it wasn't like, oh, wow. It was, next day he sent me, it was a completely different drum track. And he goes, yeah, I took my Vinny vitamins today. But that song is a really tricky song because it's, usually, you're at the same BPMs, per,
Right.
in the song. That one has three different BPMs.
Uh-huh.
So it starts off fast, say it's at, I don't know offhand, but say it's 110. The
Right.
next section is say at 80. So a lot of, when we play with drummers, like you have to slow it down. We can't play to a click, so, I mean, it was a very difficult song, that was very hard to pull off live.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. The next track is Promised Land.
That's another track with Vinny,
Uh-huh.
and that was the first track I did with him, um, and that one was, an accident in a different way, Promised Land. So that one was Every once in a while I'll put out a video, and at the end of the video you see me playing at a fire pit,
Right. Yeah.
and essentially I was I was at a fire pit, and they're like, "Oh, you play guitar, Mike," and they said they put a guitar in my hand and like
Mhm.
play something,
Right. Yeah.
and thank God like, somebody videotaped it,
Wow.
and then the
Cool.
next day they sent it to me. I'm like, "Wow, that's a good song," and I go, "I normally don't play that way,"
Right. Yeah.
and almost the entire song was written in that 5 minutes at the fire pit,
Uh,
as far as the music.
that's really cool. Definitely cool.
And the fact that they have it on camera, the actual writing of it when I'm not writing it,
Wow.
and it almost had me thinking like, well, maybe I shouldn't think. This play. Sometimes just playing without thinking is a beautiful thing.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Next track is Down.
Down, down is a little bit heavier for us,
Uh-huh.
and I brought in my good friend Perry Richardson, from Striper, and he was in
Right.
Firehouse as well.
Yep.
And we've been longtime friends, and we just talked about doing some stuff, um, and yeah, but he's another guy. He just kills it, like or I should say about like his technique, right? So the interesting thing with that song, it's down tuned.
Right.
So the song's called Down, but it's down tuned
Uh-huh.
to a whole step down.
Right.
Um, and it's it's almost not even bluesy. It's more sludgy. There's a
Right.
borderline like sludge rock meets
Right.
modern rock, and the wild thing of how Perry plays, usually bass players playing down or play with their fingers,
Right.
and and I think Striper's tuned down to an E flat, so he has all his basses on an E flat,
Right.
and the song's a whole step down. So
Yeah.
he played it with his bass in E flat on a 5-string bass.
Right. Yeah.
Like I'm trying to like wrap my head around like how do you do that?
Yeah.
Um, and then instead of playing, he would. It was interesting. He would always the first note he would hit up
Right. Uh-huh.
instead of down.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, okay. And I was like, and then the other thing with him on that was, first we're like, because there's a bunch. He did like 4 songs for us, and we're like, it's not working, not working, and we tuned to regular pitch.
Mhm.
Nah, we had
Yeah.
to go back to E flat and do it that way.
Uh,
But I have to say it's probably most of a departure of the record. Like just which is cool. Like I feel like there's so many layers to what In Theory is about, and
Right.
I feel that was best way. I mean, the way that Perry describes it, that was our sludge rock. Like it feels like your feet are in mud and you can't get out, and you're
Yeah.
just trying to run, and you're in, but you can't go. So, but he loved it like that. So I'm like, yeah, okay. We dug it, and we kept it.
Cool. Cool. Next track's Worlds on Fire.
World's on Fire. That was that again. That was another one where I was going to write a cover, and I
Uh,
was talked out of writing a cover. But we knew that right away. As soon as I did that riff, the opener of
yeah.
we knew okay, we got it, and we just started rolling with that one. And but the cool thing with that song too, it's like the verses where it's got that that thing.
Hmm.
That's actually a drummer. There's a few different things. Tapping on the walls, taking the sticks.
Right.
It's hitting the wall, then hitting his rim, doing the same thing, and then we borrowed a trick from Zeppelin,
Uh-huh.
and we took an old Ampex box that was hollow, and it was done with the fingertips.
Right. Yeah.
So all the first verse is that,
Right.
um, and the other thing is I think on that too that the lyrics are extremely very, very serious. Like Tony wanted to make a statement of what he's seeing around the world. Like like it feels like there's chaos going on.
Right.
And he wanted to make a statement of that. And so and then since I felt like that was the theme of the song, when that solo comes, I play the entire thing backwards.
Wow.
It's a whole backwards solo, and yeah, it was trippy to do it that way. And So I was like, what if like Jimi Hendrix was pissed off?
Huh?
And that's what that solo was with that.
Definitely. Next track is Heroes.
Heroes is I feel still like has our Muscle Shoals sound. I think Tony wrote some really good stuff on this. It's really about questioning heroes. So
Right.
while it's a very big anthem, like we play it live, and people are like you know, it's that type of feel, but the words are questioning who your heroes are,
Right.
and and we've taken it to like, sometimes the heroes, the person's inside, or maybe don't look at a reality star as your as your hero,
Right.
or sports star. I mean, maybe at least how I take it. Maybe a hero is the single mom who's working 5 jobs to support her kids.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of unsung heroes, and um, I just want people to think about who the heroes are.
Yeah. Cool. 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 Next track is Raise Me Up.
Raise Me Up. Um, that's still got very R&B blues feel to it.
Uh-huh.
Um, that one I feel like that was almost like a transition song. Like it's still like a little bit of Muscle Shoals, and as the verses are getting a little bit more to almost like the sound of down. You know.
Right. Hmm.
Um, but again, a very it's almost very gospel. Raise me up, lift.
Right. Yeah.
It has that feel to it. But if you listen to the guitars are starting to get a little dirtier on purpose,
Hmm.
and we had a little bit of the combination of both, which I thought worked really well. And now live, that's like one of our big songs. People just love singing that one, but again, that's another song again where the messaging is it's just like positive, like
Yeah.
and like I said, Tony's had a good message, just trying to lift people, literally lift people up, raise me up, for lack of better words. But we want to get the message up, and a message. See, now I'm going to message up. Um, but I think when we play it live, I think people get that same feeling that there's something about saying those words, raise me up,
Yeah.
raise the roof. There's something that moves people, and yeah, that's what that song's about.
Cool. Cool. The last track, Since I've Been Loving You.
Since I'm Been Loving You, so that one is I call it the all star song off of this record,
Uh-huh.
and I have we collaborate with Eric Gales. I'm not sure if do you know who Eric Gales is or
Yeah. Yes, I
okay,
know.
so, um, Eric is one of my guitar heroes,
Uh-huh.
and so there was a whole story how we got involved with Eric, and initially it was through. If you have time, I can tell you how we got
Yeah,
that, but.
we got about 10 minutes.
Okay, so I'm friends with Victor Wooten, the bass player,
Right.
and Eric was supposed to play his camp.
Uh-huh.
And when I saw that, I called up Victor. I go, I want to go play with him because he was going to jam with some folks.
Right.
And Victor's like, yeah, no problem. Come on up. But unfortunately, I had my parents. I take care of them
Hmm.
2 weeks out of the month. There's some major health issues, so a couple weeks out of the month I have to take care of him, and due to that, I couldn't make it up to the camp.
Wow.
And then by chance, 3 weeks later, Eric's playing by my parents' house.
Wow.
So I reached out to him. I said, "Look, Victor's trying to connect us." And and basically he wrote, he wrote back. He goes, "Come down, sound check. Let's see how we vibe,
Uh-huh.
and let's take it from there." So we talked a little bit, played a little bit. He was like, for lack of better, I'm not sure if you can curse on the show, but I'll curse. You can bleep it out. But he goes, fuck this. He goes,
Mhm.
let's do something. I'm
Right.
like, I'm like, really? And this was in October,
Right.
and I thought maybe he was just being polite,
Right. Yeah.
and then he goes, oh, here's my number. I called him in December. He goes, okay, what do you want to do?
Mhm.
I said, and so he came. The funny thing is, there was only 2 dates that he could do it in December,
Right.
and I had to pick a song within a week,
Right.
and I still remember it was so on a Tuesday I brought in a different rhythm section, and it wasn't quite right.
Right.
And the thing is, I had to be. Eric lives up in North Carolina, so I was flying into his place on Friday to record on Saturday.
Mhm.
So I started the recording session on Tuesday. So the rhythm section, I was like, um, it, seeing Eric work with his band, I'm like, oh
Right.
no, this is not going to work. While it was good, I felt like it needed to be great,
Right.
And so I got on the phone with Glenn Sobel from the Hollywood Vampires and Cooper.
Hmm.
I said, okay, can you do drums on this? So
Right.
this is at 9 o'clock at night on Tuesday,
Right.
and he's trying to reach his engineers and his drum tech while we're on the phone, and I'm walking him through the song how we want to do this, and at 11 o'clock he's like, okay, I can do it. My drum tech's coming Wednesday. I can cut it on Thursday.
Hmm.
So he cuts the drums on Thursday,
Right.
and but then we wanted to redo the bass, and then we brought in Jimbo Hart, who's from Bass and Isbell's band. So here's and then to add a little bit curve to it, he had COVID.
Uh,
So now he couldn't make it to the session, even though he was 2 miles away.
right.
So there's this app called Audio Movers. So in Audio Movers, it can literally put you in that studio and vice versa. So I can hear him through my speakers at the studio while he's tracking.
Right.
So I had him on FaceTime and Audio Movers, and that's how we cut the bass as if he was literally there. And then next day flew up with Eric, and then that was a whole experience in itself. And like I said, he comes in with his, I call it the matching track outfit or
Right.
pajamas,
Uh-huh.
and he gives me a hug. He's all right. I'm like, oh, this will be fun. And as soon as he straps on the guitar, one of the most serious cats I've ever played with in my life. It was extremely intense because I saw how much, I took it as he really wanted to make a great track, and he was really hard on himself as well. So when he
Right.
would make a mistake, or if he did something that he didn't like, he was screaming at himself, and then we went
Uh-huh.
back and forth, back and forth. Um, but yeah, but I felt like he had to bring his A game, and I had to bring my A game,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I think that really came through. And then the other big thing about that song for me was the intro. So on the intro, he was fighting me. He's like, man, I don't know, man, this whole intro thing. And but at the end, they're like, but it's your thing, Mike. If you want to do, like, no, it'll work. I'm telling you, it'll work. So we do it. I start doing the editing, and he's putting on his outfit and starting to load his car. Then he heard what I did with the edits. He's like,
Huh.
oh man, now I got it. I see what you're trying to do. He
Right.
comes back and he goes, now I have to redo that whole intro.
Right.
So he
Yeah.
came back in. And you have to say he's a lefty who plays a lefty strung up backwards.
Right.
He goes, let me borrow your guitar. I'm a righty. He took
Huh.
my guitar, flipped it over, and him and I play in unison. So like the first, I think 24, 25 seconds is him and I playing in unison. So he
Right.
played all my stuff, note for note, upside down with the righty, and blew it
Wow.
right out. And then he's like, all right, bro, I'll see you.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
So that was a cool experience. And in fact, I just heard from him today, and I think him and I are going to do something in mid-October again.
Oh.
So,
So
and
what are your hopes for this album?
well, we're hoping to obviously grow a fan base, and
Huh?
and I know and then eventually a couple more tours. I mean, this whole thing is just to grow it, get more
Right.
visibility for the band, and it is in a lot of ways an all-star record. Obviously
Right.
having Vinny Appice and Gales and Sobel and Perry and so forth. It is an all-star record, so they've been helping support it. So that's the big thing we're trying to. I feel like we're breaking a barrier,
Right. Yeah.
and and so far it's doing quite well. Um, so yeah, there'll be some more things going on with that, and then um, now we also brought in Victor's attorney. who also handles some other larger bands,
Right.
and they're negotiating some touring stuff for us, and then we're also going to be doing like a little mini tour of Europe,
Uh-huh.
and I can't announce who the special guests will be, but we actually have some special guests that are pretty prominent. Let's just say that, and we're supposed to maybe do. I think right now I think we only have Switzerland and Germany booked,
Uh-huh.
and I think we're trying to do 5 countries, but because we discovered a lot of our fan base is from Europe. So
Right.
we're almost gonna almost do like somebody like Twisted Sister or Rival Sons, how they broke in Europe first and came back.
Right.
We're gonna do the same thing. And the cool thing is we're working with Deko.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, that in Europe they work with Cargo Records.
Hmm.
So the cool thing is when we do go out there, you can actually go buy our record at a music store as well, or
Yeah.
you can stream it, which I think is a very cool thing.
Cool, cool. Well, Mike, it was great talking to you, and I appreciate the chat. Make sure you check out In Theory, Retribution on Deko Records. Pick up the colored vinyl if there's any left. And thanks very much. Would you like to say anything to the fans?
Um, I mean, the biggest thing I say is just thank you. I mean, we've gotten such a like an outpouring of support from the fans and from other bands. I mean,
Right.
I mean, I'm almost speechless, honestly. I mean, we just have so much support and so many people going out of the way that are really believing in this.
Right.
Whether, like you said, whether they're a fan or the artist or industry people, and there's so many people believe in us, and um, yeah, I mean, just thank you. I mean, it's I mean, without them, what can we couldn't do it.
Definitely, definitely. Thanks a lot, Mike. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.